everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today. We are talking with another Hallmark writer. We love talking with the writers here. We're talking with Michael Grimm today. Michael, thank you so much for coming on to talk with us.
Rachel, nice to meet you and super excited. Thank you. I'm a fan of writers as well. I'm a little biased, but yes. Go writers.
Yes. So this is your first time on the podcast. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about how you got started writing.
Sure. So my name is Mike Grimm. I'm originally from a small town in Pennsylvania near kind of Amish country.
Okay.
I'm not Amish. People always, whenever you say it, they're like, "Are you Amish?" Just to like check the box. We do have like horse and buggies at the local grocery store, but
Uh-huh.
now I live in Los Angeles. But kind of my writing origin story, you know, I have to attribute it a little bit for my love of video games because I got a Super Nintendo when I was young, and all I was doing was playing this Nintendo. And like any mom, it's like, oh, my kid's brain is rotting. So she came up with this rule that for every hour of gaming, I had to read for an hour. And I was not like a
Smart.
voracious reader. Yeah. So like if there's moms out there who kids are like glued to the PS5, like it's a good way to kind of let your kid have their fun, but also grow their brain. So I would be reading, and for me, like I love Goosebumps, R.L. Stein, the
Uh-huh.
horror
Yeah.
things. Um, just I'd read, and then all of a sudden I was reading for myself than to just play video games, and I was inspired by the choose your own adventure Goosebumps, where it's like, oh, if you want to go down the slide, turn to page 40. If you want to go up the stairs, turn to page 30, right? Kind of these like
Yeah.
choose your own, well, yeah, basically you choose your story. And I ended up writing one. I want to say it was like first or second grade. It was like 13 pages long, which makes no sense. It means like there was two choices and like you probably ended up like dying or something like
Yeah.
that. But I wrote it and then my mom like copied it and I brought it to class. I think I like sold it for like 25 cents to my classmate. It was called the Vamp Dracula Strikes at Midnight. I like still
Your
have it.
first big sale.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't report it on taxes, so don't tell anyone. But yeah, no, I was just like when I like my classmates read it and they're like turning the pages and making them like making people feel something at a very young age. And like my second grade teacher, Mrs. Sabota, shout out to her. She was the one that like first one to kind of like affirm me as a good writer. I'm sure in second grade, it was fairly basic, but she was
Mm-hmm.
like a real cheerleader for me. Um, and then I watched the movie Toy Story. I think we all have like that
Oh,
formative movie, right? Like I'm
yeah.
sure a lot of people say like the 90s Disney films like Aladdin or Lion King and Little Mermaid. Of course, love all of those. But
Yeah.
for me, like the first one that like really impacted me as like a storyteller was Toy Story. And I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember like laughing and like crying when you didn't
Yes.
think Woody and Buzz. And I was just like, I don't know, from a young age, just this idea of like creating something that makes people feel something was really compelling to me. Um, so then, anytime I'd get a writing assignment in school, they'd be like, "Oh, write a one page blah 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 blah." 12 pages later, I'd hand in like a 12, 20 page Pokemon battle epic that my poor teacher had to read. But I just loved, I would always just
Yeah.
go and write and write, and obviously it worked out
Yeah.
because now I have a career out of it. But yeah, it was just one of those things that started with like a seed of one of these choose your own adventure things, and then it expanded into a lifelong passion of telling
Yeah.
stories.
Well, I love hearing that about Toy Story because I think I mean, if it's possible, Toy Story could be underrated because it's one of the most praised films of all time. But the script is maybe, I think, a little underappreciated. How tight that script is. I mean,
Oh,
it is
so good.
perfectly calibrated every step of the way to get to that point where he says, "You are a toy."
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know it is. And I mean, I think like that set the gold standard for
Yeah.
Pixar films, right?
Yeah.
Like
Still one of the
ups,
best, in my
yeah,
opinion.
still one of the best. Yeah, and they're doing a fifth one. I thought like after four, I was like, oh, they're done. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they like announced another one. It's like, all right, well, okay.
Well, I mean, that's
Well,
Disney right
that's
now.
Disney.
A
Yes,
mess. Total mess.
exactly. They are.
Yeah,
But I
but
hope they
yeah,
can.
I mean it the way that they're able to build up Woody's character bit by bit by bit, because originally like he was gonna be a lot meaner. And
Yes, yes, I remember
like
seeing those like
yeah,
storyboard
the
things.
original draft was like way darker, and they really nailed it. The brain trust that they used to have just really got that perfect with him, so that you can understand, because we've all had those people in our lives that drive us crazy, and they're completely oblivious to the fact they're just living on with their life,
100%.
you know.
Yes, that's
But
our
then you're just
buzz.
like,
That's we all have our Buzz Lightyear, right?
yes.
No, I completely agree. And obviously that relatability is something, that's why
Yeah,
we go to the movies, right?
yeah.
To feel something and experience life in someone
Hmm.
else's shoes for a moment.
Yeah, and it's such a funny script too.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they do a great calibration, right? Of
Yes.
having parents get specific jokes, but of course the kids will enjoy like the slapstick stuff and
Hmm.
um I think
Yeah.
all the Toy Story films kind of accomplished that. So yeah, that was like my formative
I love that.
first like theatrical experience. So I can truly remember being like, oh man, movies are special, you know?
That was such a great time. Well, and just for movies in general, but like
Yeah.
especially for animation. I mean, you just think right
Mm.
around that time, you've got Lion King, you've got Toy Story, you've got, I
Yeah,
mean,
Little Mermaid,
Aladdin,
Aladdin,
OG years. Oh,
Hercules, like the
unbelievable.
90s Disney run was like God mode.
Yeah, for real.
So hopefully they can find some of that mojo again. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see the second Inside Out. I thought the first film was incredibly clever. Um,
I'm
hopefully
so
yeah,
nervous about it, but I'm
I'll be there.
excited.
Me too.
Yeah, please, because I loved the first one too. I'm with you
Please be
100%.
good.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So, what was your journey like to then? So you were inspired by films like Toy Story, and so then did you go to film school, or what was your next step?
I picked up a camera. Another film that I'll say it's not animated, but one that really got me was The Matrix.
Ah,
The original
uh-huh.
Matrix, like, just kind of
Yes.
blew my mind. And at this point, I'm in middle school, maybe like late elementary school, and like just again another movie that's so well written in a very different way, right? But it just bends the mind, and obviously has a ton of action. And me and my buddies would I'm a VHS guy, late 80s. I was born in the late 80s. So we still had
Uh-huh.
the camcorder that was like 20 pounds, that
Yeah.
you put on your you put the VHS in.
Yes.
So me and my friends, we would just go out and shoot these Matrix rip-offs. Like Matrix Tennis was one, Matrix Ping Pong, Matrix Billiards, like where we do
Oh
these
man.
special effects. But we just have sleepovers, and that would be our sleepover. We'd make movies, and it was one of those things where with the VHS camera, we didn't really know how to edit. So if we messed up, we had to kind of like rewind and figure out where it was and then try to record over them. So somewhere in my parents' attic or basement are these like
Oh,
just gem of a film, gems of films, that we made growing up.
I love
Just
that.
completely ridiculous. I'd love to go
Yeah.
see it because of course, like whether it's tennis or ping pong or billiards, every one of our shorts would like end in a matrix battle, right? And we'd
Uh-huh.
all have the shot where he's like, avoiding the bullets, and then I'd
Yeah.
lay down on a table and you get a close up of the side, so it looks like the
Oh,
bullets going over you. So we would just have a ball doing these
that's
stuff.
so cool.
And anytime there was an opportunity, in high school to film something. I remember one time we did Edgar Allan Poe, and I was like, could you film a short of, I think we did the Black Cat or something. So of course
Uh-huh.
I'd go crazy. And but by this time I had editing software. We just had a ball doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So fast forward to college, I went to Penn State for school. Not necessarily, it's not really known for its film school. It's definitely growing. I think they have a Hollywood program now. I went
Nice.
because I grew up going to football games and like fell in love with the town. Both my
Mm-hmm.
parents went there. It was like the only place I applied. So I think I could say it was more for the social aspect because they
Mm-hmm.
really only had at the time, I think, two screenwriting courses, which, the longest script I read or wrote in school was maybe 12 pages. Whereas like, if you graduate from USC, you're coming out of there with a portfolio, right? You got like
Right.
four
Yeah.
features. Um, so again, it was good. There was a lot of things that it did help with, but again, I would argue it was more for like the social aspect of it
Were
all.
you
But
were you thinking at the time like, okay, I want to pursue a career in screenwriting?
I did. I absolutely was, and I was writing bad scripts. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
and hopefully most writers will be honest and say that their first like 10 scripts sucked, or
Yeah.
first one or two were not so good. I was just writing maybe a script or two a year. But again,
Yeah.
you have to I mean, there's lightning in a bottle cases where someone writes a brilliant script right off the bat. But for me, it really did take a lot of, really rough drafts.
Yeah.
And I wanted to move to LA after I graduated from Penn State. Um, but I'm a military brat, and like my dad just he very smartly asked me a lot of these questions, like, do you have any money? No, I'm in serious debt. Do you know anyone out there? No, no. Do you have a portfolio? No. So I actually went and got my teaching degree, and
Uh-huh.
became a high school teacher. So you got to thank your teachers, because they work their butts off. And I've always like I haven't written a teacher yet in the Hallmark movie. I'm excited to have the opportunity to do so. I
Oh
just feel like
yeah.
they can make really fun characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyway, I was again writing the whole time, and it wasn't until I was 27 that I moved out to LA. With some money saved up and a hope and a dream, like most people who come out to Hollywood, and found
Yeah.
jobs that paid the bills while I could still work on my writing. And then fortunately last year I got to the position where I was able to leave my full-time job and just focus on the craft. But it was 8 years, which I think the saying is like an overnight success in Hollywood is 7 years. So
Yeah.
I just missed being an overnight success, but pretty darn close. But it
Yeah.
is, anybody who's out here knows, it's just a lot of hustling and a lot of writing on it, honestly, and meeting folks and a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing, all that sort of stuff.
So how did you become the Dayspring guy? Like, how did that happen?
Good question. Yeah, the Dayspring dude. I like to say a little bit of alliteration there.
Yeah.
So yeah, funny story. And you talk about kind of like luck and timing in a way. I was at a church retreat in 2018, and there was a young lady who I met who turned out that at the time she was a junior exec at Hallmark. And of course, you get just talking about what you do and what your passions are. And I told her I was a writer, and she says, "Oh, if you have something, send it over. I'd love to read it." So after the retreat, I sent her a rom com that I wrote, um, and a holiday rom com, and she just emailed me back a little later, like, "Hey, I really like it." And that was that. And of course, I
Uh-huh.
continued doing stuff, and she was working at Hallmark, but she remembered me. And in 2021, I think it was early 2021, just that kind of out of the blue, she says, "Hey, Mike, I remember." Um, from the retreat. I know faith's a big part of your life. Hallmark is looking to do faith-based films through their Dayspring banner, which of course is their Christian-based card company. And she just said, do you what ideas do you have? And
Uh-huh.
any good writer, that's what we do. We come up with ideas. We ask the client what they want, and we just start,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, vomit out or brainstorm ideas. And you know 25 are bad, but the 26th might be good.
Yeah.
So yeah, over the next week, I just started brainstorming because I knew she wanted a Christmas movie and she wanted to have an element of faith as a fairly large part of it. So yeah, I ginned up 10, 10 ideas, and the one that stood out to her was the film Gift of Peace, which of course is about a young lady going through loss who finds solace in a bereavement group, and gets to know other people who have gone through loss as well.
Was that
So
intimidating for you to be diving into the faith-based market? Because it's there's a lot of competition, and some of it's not tends to
the
sometimes
bar,
not be the strongest
yeah, no, I
screenplays.
think it's fair to say that the bar isn't as high as I wish it would be.
Yes.
There are definitely you know there's a big demand for it, right? A
Yeah.
huge demand, which is great. Uh, the way I approached it is, yes, I'm going to include elements of faith, but I really want to find what are the universal parts that an atheist could enjoy, an atheist viewer could enjoy, and a Buddhist and a Protestant,
Yeah.
or all walks of life to be able to enjoy. And it's the things that connect us as humans, like of course, in Gift of Peace, grief, we've all likely lost someone and gone through that. We all are seeking love and friendship. In the blessing bracelet, like gratitude, that's incredibly universal, right? And we all
Right.
could use a little more practicing in gratitude. And in Easter Bloom, it was forgiveness and finding hope during dark times. So I really tried to key in on those things. And me and the Hallmark exec, we used to joke like that we had this faith dial, like we had to find the right, like maybe the first draft was like a 3 on the faith scale, and then second draft, whoops, that was maybe a 9. So we wanted to try to hit it, maybe like a 5 or 6,
Yeah.
where faith-based lovers will really appreciate the nods to God and prayer and etc. But non-faith people not of faith will appreciate the
Yeah.
again, more universal elements. So
And I think it's been pretty successful in that regard,
oh, good.
because the previous franchise that they had, the Godwinks, they were not successful in my opinion, because it were trying too hard to fence pull it. Like, we're gonna
Mm.
kind of talk about God, but not really. Like, you never really saw anybody praying, you never saw anybody. So it was just kind of too, like, I don't know. They
Just
just
not, yeah,
didn't
kind
really
of like
work,
beating
I
around
don't
the
think.
bush a little bit as opposed to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
leaning into it.
It's like,
Um,
just do it. You make 45 movies a year, like Christmas movies. Like, just make one. Like, I'll go all the way.
just make it happen. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I think like having the Dayspring banner, it really
Yeah, I
gave
think it
us
helps.
permission to like really hit it hard. And in
Yeah,
Easter Bloom, the love interest is a pastor. I don't know if
yeah,
there's ever been a pastor as a love interest in a Hallmark film before. So yeah, I was really just trying to find the balance, and of course getting feedback and
yeah,
learning. So I'm happy to hear that you felt like the kind of that we struck the right tone for the most part.
yeah. I mean, we were just saying in our spring recap, that the Dayspring movies have, I think, overall been a success.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. I
I really
agree.
do.
So I mean, three out of the four I've had a hand in. Just to give a little context, Gift of Peace, I did a few drafts of that. It was based off of a pitch. It's not like I had a completed script, so we kind of had to
Mm,
build from the ground up. And then they brought in kind of a Hallmark closer to get it across the finish line.
sure.
And like, I hope any writer who watches this understands when someone comes in to rewrite your work, that's not a knock on you. It
Yeah.
just means that they need, a different POV or someone who's more experienced to get it to the point where it can be produced. It's
Hmm.
well, I mean, it's if you're not human, if it doesn't sting a little bit, because of course you want to be the one championing it all the way through. But
Sure.
at the end of the day, like your goal is to get it across the finish line and get a film that people are going to love and that Hallmark will sign off on. And
Well,
so
and
if
even those rewriters have had their own work rewritten by others. So,
yeah, it's like the circle of writer life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Tyler, his name was, he came in and rewrote Gift of Peace, and I'll call it more of like maybe more of a polish, because I felt like my script that I wrote was very well represented in the final product. Like he
Hmm.
put a really nice shiny glossy layer of goodness on, but
Yeah.
I met up with him, and like we're friends now. He's a
Oh,
great
that's
guy.
cool.
Exactly to your point, Blessing Bracelet. was one where they reached out to me and said, "Hey, Mike, we got a script that we like, but it needs that final push." And guess what?
Uh-huh.
So then it was my turn to come in and be the closer, so to speak. And I love that. I mean, I really enjoyed that, what
Yeah.
the writers brought with that script, and to go in and again just try to get it across the finish line. And then Easter Bloom was special to me because that was my first like solo from start to finish, right?
Yeah.
Script that I did all the drafts without
Nice.
anyone else. Yeah, so that was my
That's
first like
good.
solo writing credit. So extra proud of that one. And that one was like a very condensed timeline because right after the strike last year, which ended in October, and they needed an Easter movie. So imagine like we had to, really like put the pedal to the metal to get that one into production in January in order for our March release.
Uh-huh.
So it was a tight timeline, but we made it happen.
Was it tricky with Gift of Peace, kind of figuring out how much of a romance to make it? Because they didn't really do much, and that was interesting for a Hallmark movie. And I always figured that there must have been a lot of debate, like, how far do we go with this?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because the thing was that she had lost her husband not long ago.
Yeah, within a year,
So
I think.
it wouldn't have, to us, it didn't feel right for him to already be pressing some sort of romantic interest just because it seemed too soon. And in order for her to love again, she needed to be able to heal her own heart, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of the approach we took. And
But
I
it was
think
a
Brennan
risk because I mean, it's very unusual to not have a Hallmark movie have
had the
romance.
kiss, yeah, or yeah,
Yeah.
romance, or the kiss at the end. And to be honest with you, an early draft was much heavier on the romance, and the more we
Mm-hmm.
thought about it, we're like, we need to pull this back. Like
Yeah.
there's no way she's ready to put her heart out there again when she's still just kind of drowning in this grief. And I think Brennan Elliott, who I haven't met, but I heard he's lovely, and I love him as an actor.
Yeah.
He kind of made the nice choice at the end. I think he kisses her hand or something like that. That was just his choice. I forget what I wrote in the script. I wonder if it was
Mm-hmm.
like a kiss on the cheek. But yeah, we really wanted to calibrate that. So, even like you said, it's a little bit atypical to not have way more romantic beats, but um, we wanted to focus more on like the community of that group and her
Mm-hmm.
healing. And just as a fun fact, my mom's a bereavement counselor.
Ah,
So
okay.
that was really the inspiration for that idea that I pitched. And I actually, I'd call my mom. She was a little bit of like a script consultant, or making sure
Uh-huh.
like a lot of the dialogue rang true, and like some of the activities they do, like serving others and going out in nature. These are things that she would suggest to her clients. So my
Uh-huh.
mom probably should have got like a special thanks credit, but no, she was just happy to help me on my first film. But they say you write what you know, which I think is true in many cases. I say write what interests you or what you're passionate about,
Yeah.
because writers are also researchers. Do I know anything about flower arranging before Easter
Right.
Bloom? Absolutely not. I would have no idea what to do if you like threw me in Trader Joe's and like make an arrangement. So
Well,
I
I
really
mean,
would.
if we only got what writers know, we'd have a bunch of like secluded,
It's very, yeah,
isolated.
esoteric, yeah,
Yeah.
very strange
I
things.
mean,
So
I don't need that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was yeah. In every one of my films, I've been a big researcher
Hmm.
as well. So now I'm
Yeah.
like, a pseudo
Because we also want to
forest.
escape when it comes
Hmm.
to our film slash, literature, whatever it is that
Exactly. No, yeah,
we
you're
don't want just
transporting
what we
yourself,
know.
right? Yeah, you're transporting yourself into that world and trying to get into your characters' heads. And I kind of sometimes will ask my characters in like a non like
Hmm.
needing therapy way, but like, hey, what would you do if this person, said this to you, and just try to like
Yeah.
really, really get in their head. And in The Gift of Peace, the first scene, he asks if Nikki DeLoach's character, Tracy, who's my wife's name, if she'd like to share anything. She just says, "No, I'm really angry," and then that's all she says that whole first time, which I think is something that anyone who's grieved, that's a very common way. So it was
Yeah.
just looking for, and the holidays are hard if you've lost someone, right? That's
Yeah.
when a lot of the memories come, and that's what my mom said as well. So my goal with that film is to hopefully have something that people can watch that hopefully gives them some peace and some solace. And I actually I'm gonna reach up here. What was cool is the film got a what's called a Christopher
Oh.
Award. I don't know if you've heard of the Christopher Awards,
Uh-uh.
but it's a faith-based organization who every year they honor a couple films and TV shows that kind of lift this spirit and
Uh-huh.
add elements of faith. So the fact that kind of my first go at it with Hallmark got that piece of metal was pretty cool as
Cool.
well. So
Yeah, that is cool. Well, and you must have been thrilled with Brennan and Nikki. I mean, dream team.
yes, I
That
know.
was your
And
movie.
to be honest with you, like I of course watched Hallmark in the background, my mom and my grandma especially.
Uh-huh.
My Nana, she's still alive. She cracks me up. She's like, Mike, as long as you keep making movies, I'm gonna keep kicking because I want to keep seeing them. So
That's
I'm
so
keeping my
cute.
Nana alive through through my films. But I'd be over in the other room watching football I'm a big
Uh-huh.
sports guy. So
Yeah.
I didn't really truly appreciate the Hallmark films until I really immersed myself in this one. But now I'm like part of all the fan groups. Like I watch their movies. It's
Uh-huh.
just they're as I don't I'm preaching to the choir here. They're just a very winning, you know, a winning brand of movies, which
I
I'm happy
find
to be a
very
part
few
of.
people that I can't win them over. Almost everybody's like, these suck, they're terrible. And most of them, I'm like, try this one. Try this
Yeah,
one.
you get
And
sucked
they're
in
like,
right
oh, that's
away.
actually really cute.
You get sucked in right away.
Yeah.
Exactly. And anytime I'm watching one as research, but
Uh-huh.
if my wife gets even like a hint that I'm watching one, she'll sit next to me and then like an hour and a half later, she's like, oh wow, like what happened? What
Yeah.
happened to that hour? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, it's really just a community of warmth and
Yeah.
the Hallmark faithful are so engaged, which I love, including, obviously yourself with all these wonderful
Mm-hmm.
podcasts and
Mm-hmm.
um, hopefully it's a I continue working with them and continue to be the Dayspring dude
Yeah.
and beyond. I write plenty of non-faith based stuff too. I love John
Mm-hmm.
Hughes. Like John Hughes was my muse
Oh.
growing
Yeah.
up. For those listeners who don't know him, what's going on? No, I'm kidding. He wrote Breakfast Club and what's the one with Broderick?
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Apparently, he wrote Home Alone in a weekend. Anyways, he wrote these great like
Unbelievable. Yeah.
formative coming of age movies, which that's kind of like I have the rom-com Mike, and then there's like the coming of age comedic Mike as well, which
Yeah.
are, those are more like theatrical type projects and whatnot. So um no, but I mean, like I said, I love working with the Dayspring folks and
Yeah.
Hallmark, and
Well, what I
the
think
hope is
is
they keep making them.
Yeah, what I think is working right now in the Dayspring is there's a focus on storytelling versus ministry. And that's where faith-based films can lose
Yes.
me. Is that if I feel like I'm watching a Sunday school video, like,
It's
it's a
fair. That's a fair
ministry,
assessment.
then
Yep.
that's not interesting to me. Like
No, no.
I can go to church if I want to be ministered to, and
Yes.
so I want to hear a story. I want to know what somebody's journey is and how they've been influenced. And I think that so far they've done a pretty good job with these movies of avoiding those pitfalls, which is hard.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to beat people over the head with the Bible, so to speak, for lack
Yeah.
of better words, while we still want to have elements of, biblical truths in there. But I'm glad that you said that, because again, that was really, especially for the first film, trying to find that calibration. And I watched the other Dayspring. I wasn't involved with it. Was it Miracle in Bethlehem, PA? I thought that
Bethlehem,
one was
yeah.
fun.
That one was
Um,
way better than I expected.
yeah,
It
really
really
funny.
was.
Yeah, really funny and sweet. And
Yeah.
I actually live 40 minutes from Bethlehem, PA, back home. It's a town really close to me, so I enjoyed like the
Mm-hmm.
little like Pennsylvania references and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it was really cute.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things again that we're just trying to uh, you know include everyone in those films and not just feel like faith-based lovers will be the only fans of
Yeah, if you're just
everyone.
preaching to the choir, then what's the point?
There isn't. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
exactly. No. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Susan Mallory's new book, For the Love of Summer. Ready for a story that hits you right in the feels and makes you believe in the power of friendship and resilience? Check out New York Times bestselling author Susan Mallory's For the Love of Summer. Experience Allison's roller coaster ride of life, grappling with financial troubles and emotional highs and lows, and finding unexpected allies. Unravel the intricacies of family ties, the solace of true friendship, and the unwavering spirit that propels us forward. Grab your copy of For the Love of Summer at your favorite bookstore or use the affiliate link below and discover a story that will leave you asking, what would you do? That's For the Love of Summer, available today wherever you purchase your books. Blessing Bracelet was interesting because it was really about mom more than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have one? Did you get one? The blessing bracelet?
I didn't, but they look fun.
They after the film, I heard they were like on back order for like 3 months.
Sure.
Like my aunt tried to get one and it took a couple months. We have one. And it's actually sometimes we'll use it. I was being really impatient the other day. It was either traffic or we were waiting in a long line and my wife was wearing it. And she's like, all right, stop. What are 4 things you're grateful for? And I was like, I did it. And I was like, okay. I feel much better.
The only thing is she was giving those away for free, way too much. I'm like,
yes,
stop.
she was. Yeah, but you're right. It is a story of like a single mom finding her footing on her own with her son, and you know, she finds power in obviously gratitude, but also in community and uh you know, just this idea that and also becoming an entrepreneur, uh kind of you know, without having those entrepreneurial skills. And
Yeah.
no matter what dark place you're in, you know, if you're willing to kind of roll up your sleeves and do some bootstrapping, you can get out of there. And I thought Amanda Scholl was excellent. She's a really talented actress. And obviously I liked Carlo too. And I'm a dog. I love dogs. So like when I read the script, I'm like,
the dog.
yes, she went. There's dogs in here. I think the dog's name was Lolly. I was like, all right, I'm all on board. And I love, yeah, I know Hallmark. I haven't watched. There's like a corgi one I have to watch. I mean,
yeah.
anytime there's a dog like in the title, it's like, all right, well, put that to the top of my list.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, that one's really just about a single mother who is just trying to find her new path. And you know, figure out with a little help of you know, her faith, of course. And all the movies have, except for Miracle in Bethlehem. I don't think there was a church scene in there, but all the ones I worked on do
I think
have
it's like the
elements
pageant. I think it was just in the pageant.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no, so exactly. And of course, like in Easter Bloom is another one that deals a little bit with that deals with loss as well. And I'll be like, for me, like there's a chunk of my 20s where I was away from the faith, not because I was like angry at God or anything like that. It wasn't a priority in my life for a chunk of my 20s. So I've been through some of my characters' shoes when they're struggling with their faith. And for people who are faith, like if you don't struggle, if you don't have doubts, I would like check your temperature, because there are times, like I feel like that's something, you know, we all do, whether we admit it or not. And
well, that's what I loved about Easter Bloom, because it was so free of judgment. It was so loving, and I feel like we could do a lot better in people of any faith could do better, being more loving, more
exactly
kinder. And when he tells her that the faith comes and goes, it's a journey. I look at the person, not where their faith is, something to that effect.
Yes, exactly.
That was so moving to me. I loved that.
Good. Okay, nice. Yeah, I think are they on the bench and they're stargazing in that scene, I think. Yeah, no, exactly. And like the part that I think an effective person of faith should be able to do, and I think it says in the film, my wife's very good at this too, is meeting people where they're at, right?
Yeah.
Without judgment, sans judgment, exactly what you said. Whether that means they don't have any faith at all, or they're, you know, the most pious person in the world, just like the ability to meet someone wherever their place is just, you know, there's comfort and there's trust, and again, it allows the person to not feel judged. So yeah, that exact line that Hollingsworth's character Derek says, like, speaks, I think, directly to that.
Yeah, I was really moved by it. It was because I think we all, like you said, we all go through those hills and valleys, and it's comforting to know that people will love you just for who you are and not of any.
Amen. Yeah, exactly. By the way, it's funny.
Any
Easter Bloom.
qualifying statements to
Right.
do.
No, yeah. I'll love you if you do these
Yeah.
things. There's no if. It's just I'll love you.
Right. Yeah.
But one funny thing about the Easter Bloom, and this is why I'm not a producer, they had to shoot this in January in
Yeah.
Canada, and it's like it's a flower bloom, bloom movie.
Well,
So
you could tell because they had to do the green screen
they
and
had to
other
do some
stuff,
CGI.
so
Yes, exactly. And little insider, one of the scenes was actually supposed to be in a babbling brook, and the characters actually go in it. But apparently, it was
oh,
like they're not going to do that when it's 35 degrees out. So
right.
producers had to take liberties, and I forget they adjusted the scene a little bit, but I think the dialogue remained. But yeah,
Mhm.
there's no way they were going to throw Amy and Ben in 35-degree like waters in
So
Canada.
I said in our recap, I said the flaws with the movie are obvious, and but I feel like if you dig deeper, and really that's why I wanted to talk to you, because it was the script that to me was what really stood out.
Oh,
That
thank
I
you.
felt like these were well-rounded characters that I could relate with, and that it was a nuanced discussion of faith and grief, and some of these themes. I really, and I loved Amy's performance. She
She's
was
sweet.
so
She's great.
good.
I love her.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
really
I
enjoyed
mean,
it.
to be honest with you, the movie that like I thought of first with this is actually Karate Kid.
Ah,
Because you have that mentor-mentee
right.
relationship,
I see
right?
that.
And how Mr. Miyagi has these fun ways of teaching him skills of karate. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of my template, right? Because she meets Lori,
Uh-huh.
who's this experienced florist, and there's these principles of flower design, and I was just trying to think, okay, what's a fun way to for her to teach contrast? Ooh, shopping trip,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So it's really like the Karate Kid structure, if you will, of like learning skills in order to compete in the final event. So I had that in the back of my mind. But yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. Like at the core of these characters, I want them to be relatable and the viewer to see themselves in Amy's character, or even Ben's character, because he's going through his own struggle with something that happened in his past. So I was really is really important to me to ground them in something that people could see themselves in. And then yeah, just trying to you know with it, whether it was Gift of Peace or Easter Bloom, maybe a little bit less in Blessing Bracelet, the progression of getting back connected, connecting back to God, just making sure that was done in a way that was realistic. It wasn't like this all of a sudden they're like, a believer and hallelujah, going back to church.
Mm-hmm.
With any
Mm-hmm.
story arc, it's that progression, and you're going to sometimes take two steps back if you take one step forward. And the
Mm-hmm.
first time Amy's character Amanda goes into the church, remember, she's like, I'm sorry, I can't, I
Can do
can't
it.
come in here. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben, Derek's really supportive of that. He says, be the first to hold the door open for you. But, if you never come back, like it's no judgment here. So I think, yeah, with that, with Gift of Peace is finding your way back to your faith is not an easy journey, and it's not a straightforward journey. So that was really my goal with those movies, is to make it a realistic journey. Again, that because again, my own life, it was not a very
Yeah.
straightforward journey, and I helped. Meeting my wife was a big reason why I got back to my faith. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, good. I
Yeah.
appreciate that feedback, because I mean, again, I'm hoping to continue to be the Dayspring dude.
Yeah.
So these are all things that I'm keeping in mind. So I'm glad it's like translating to the viewer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that they could even go even further with, like, just like be like a touch more bold in having like the characters pray, having them be like, and it would be nice if they had like specific denominations and wouldn't shy away from
Mm,
that, that like
mm-hmm.
what we could have a story where a character takes communion, for example, or something like that. Like obviously it's tricky, but I think that would be nice to have like specific faiths, like, and characters in their stories that we don't need to shy away from that.
I agree. I mean, I'm a devout Catholic, so the communion reference hits with me, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something that like we will definitely like play with moving forward. Again, that
Mm-hmm.
faith dial that we talk about.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, whether it could be Judaism. I mean, I wouldn't likely be qualified to write a script that focuses on that, but like that would be a cool thing to watch and learn
Mm-hmm.
about. Like I don't know exactly what the menorah or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a lot of those specifics that like I'd be very open minded to seeing films like
Yeah.
that. And like you said, like with communion, or having a priest as a character, or maybe having confession, that could be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because that deals with forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's just we're learning as we go and
Mm-hmm.
looking to potentially mix things up and do things like that. So
Yeah.
that's obviously well taken.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Did you come to them with this idea, or did they say we need another Dayspring movie in
Which one? Easter Bloom or Gift of
or Easter
Peace
Bloom?
or
Yeah. Easter
so
Bloom.
that was one where after Gift of Peace, the exec goes, "Hey, we're looking to do Easter movies too."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did the same thing. I was just like, okay, what are very Eastery things? Flowers,
Uh-huh.
because I know just like they say for Christmas scripts, Christmas in every scene. Like, what type of like world where we had Easter in every scene or almost every scene? And again, like flowers
Right.
immediately came to mind. So it's all just like pitching something that's a lump of clay, and then the execs at Hallmark are wonderful, and they turn that clay into a beautiful pot or
Yeah.
whatever vase.
Yeah.
But you need that lump of clay to make anything at all, right? So my job is to give them that that lump, which makes it seem like it's a bad idea. I think they're good ideas. I always try to figure out like what's the new way in or what's the new
Yeah.
news, right? Because there's been so many movies that Hallmark's made.
Yeah.
And
It's
anytime
true.
I come up with a pitch, I always Google. I'll put Hallmark and then I'll kind of put some words in about what I'm thinking of writing about and seeing if there's something that's a little bit too close. But they've never done a flower
Yeah.
arranging contest or anything like that. And again, I think the female relationship, the older generation with the younger really stood
Yeah.
out to them.
I
Just like
thought
in
too.
Gift of Peace, I think the community aspect, because remember you have the older woman and then you have the boy who lost his nona and the girl who used to sing with her mom, right? Like they loved like the community aspect of that as well. So I think those are certain things that they're drawn to. But I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm starting to brainstorm and think like, okay,
Yeah.
what could be another fun Christmas Dayspring movie?
All right. Well,
And
good.
to be
Well,
honest,
if any of the listeners have ideas, put in the comments. We'll
yeah,
send them
yeah,
on to
hit me up.
Michael.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if you ever get asked to do another Easter movie, I think it would be so cute. One of these Easter movies, if somebody has a wedding ring in an egg in the hunt, they go out, find it.
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't that be cute?
What an
Open the egg.
exclamation mark.
Oh,
Yeah, what an exclamation mark on a fun idea. Okay, so in the future, if you see an egg with an engagement ring, it wasn't me. No, I'm kidding.
I want to be executive producer.
Yeah, we'll give you an EP or
Yes.
story by something like that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's yeah, again, it just goes back to thinking of uh what I always start with, like what's the universal thing, like maybe it's one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. Like you could do one
Mm-hmm.
on patience, you could do one on faithfulness, you could build a movie around joy perhaps. Like so that's kind of like where again what finding something I could anchor it in that anyone can relate to, and then find like the characters in the world
Yeah.
in that.
Well, the best faith-based film, I think, of recent memory. Have you ever seen a movie called All Saints?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you got to check it out.
Is
It's
it
great.
recent?
It's like 5, 6 years old.
Okay, All
Yeah,
Saints.
it's great. It's about this pastor that he decides to start this farm for this Laotian immigrants that are there that need that are struggling. And the thing I think that makes it really special is that everything goes wrong. Nothing works. And he has so many challenges to his faith, and it's just a really good story and a really like good characters, and yeah, it's a
Well, thank you.
yeah,
I
check
will
that one
watch
out.
that. I consume a lot of faith-based content.
Yeah.
I write a lot outside, as well. And like you said, we always say as writers, never leave the door unlocked for your protagonist. So it sounds like
Mhm.
every door was locked for him. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think so I enjoyed I Can Only Imagine. I thought that was really well
Yes.
done.
I
I haven't
mean,
seen the new one, Unsung
yeah, I
Hero,
can
but
only imagine was really good, except for the high school portions. It was like you should not have had that actor pretend to be in high school. It made no
oh,
sense.
that's right.
But if you cut
Yeah.
that out, everything else
Yes.
was great, I
The
think, in
father
it.
son
Yeah.
aspect was really really done well
Yeah,
with Dennis
so
Quaid.
good. And that
What
Amy
else?
Grant lookalike was flawless. She looked exactly like her.
Crazy.
She
Yeah,
really
exactly. That's a
did. I
good
mean,
point. Yeah, I'd have to go back and see her, but yeah.
so
I'm trying
good.
to think.
But yeah, the
I saw.
Irwin brothers are making faith-based films on a level that's way better than in my opinion, than anybody else in feature films, at least.
Yeah,
Like,
they're crushing it.
yeah, they're making like flawed characters that are interesting. They're just telling one story. They're not feeling the need to proselytize within the
Hmm,
films.
absolutely.
They're just way
They
better.
get it. They get it.
Like
And
this one
listen,
with Hillary Swank that just came out. That was pretty good.
I need to watch that. I know exactly the one you're talking about. It
Yeah.
looked good.
Yeah, it was
And I
good.
mean these I don't know if they bust people from the church to the theater, but these movies are doing gangbusters at the
Yeah,
box
oh, yeah.
office. Like
Yeah.
that Imagine like I Can Only Imagine made over 100 million. I think it was about $10 million to produce.
Yeah.
So there is, there's just people are craving this. Obviously, like The Chosen is a good example
Yeah.
of like a global
True.
phenomenon, which I enjoy watching that
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
good.
And yeah, no, I mean, I just want to continue to find ways to like touch people's hearts in general. If it helps them bring them closer to God, great. If not, hopefully I still just touched their hearts and made them feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we like to end our interviews with some fun, get to know you
Okay,
questions. So,
let's do it.
first question, what is the best ice cream flavor?
Can it be like a DQ order, or does that have
Sure.
to be so like a peanut butter parfait, which
Oh, that
is
is good. I'm
isn't it
with you
good?
there.
Yeah, there's no DQs in LA. It's a travesty. You have to travel like an hour away. But yeah, peanut butter parfait. It's for the
Yeah.
listeners that don't know. It's vanilla, hot fudge, and layers of peanuts, and it's
Yeah.
multi-layer. Very good.
That, that's my go-to DQ order too. So
Okay,
I'm with you.
good.
I'm with you. All
Nice.
right. What is your favorite color?
Navy blue, Penn State blue.
Okay,
I'm
good.
also, fun fact, I'm colorblind, so you'll never see me wear
Oh,
red or green. Well, actually, I think this one might actually be
oh,
greenish.
it's
I
too
don't
bad they
know.
didn't get you on the colorblind movie.
Ah, I saw that. I saw they were releasing a colorblind one. I was like, no, get me in on that. I'll rate the sequel.
Good.
Yes, that's really funny.
All right. What music are you into?
I listen almost primarily to film scores. I love film
Love
scores.
that. Yeah.
I do listen to Christian music as well. There's some really good songs about like counting your blessings that I really like right now.
Uh-huh.
But uh, yeah, like when I'm writing Hallmark in particular, like the holiday score, that's a go-to by
Uh,
Hans Zimmer.
oh.
P.S. I Love You has a great score.
Oh.
So I actually have a playlist for each of my movies. Like I'll curate it before I start writing, and then it's just something. It's always usually very whimsy and all that stuff. So
Is that on Spotify or
it's
just
on Spotify.
yeah,
Never
you
to
should
be
give
shared.
us the link.
Okay, I
That
will.
was I'd
Yes,
like to
but
listen to that.
very much a film score guy through and through.
Cool. Yeah, good. All
Inspires
right.
creativity.
What is your go-to date night food?
Oh wow. A date night because
Trying to
I
impress the
love burritos,
wife.
but burritos are like really heavy. But a good Italian. There's
Okay.
a very good Michelin star restaurant called Mozza,
Oh. Oh.
in LA. Nancy Silverton's restaurant. That's like a
Oh.
special occasion.
Sure.
oh, I just closed another
Fancy.
deal with Hallmark. We're gonna go there. But it is chef's kiss to die for. So we'll say Italian.
Cool. What is your go-to date night activity if you're going out doing something?
My wife and I, we are escape room
Huh?
diehards. I want to write an escape room Hallmark movie. I haven't figured out what it's gonna be, but like there's got to be a way to mesh an escape room with a love story. I don't know what it
Oh,
is.
you could have like clues to like clues
We
for
need to have a
the
brainstorming session.
yes.
Because
I was thinking about that.
yeah, put it in the back of your head. I
Just to
proposed to
find
my
the
wife.
love.
I proposed to Tracy in an escape room. It was one of those things where the last box was a ring, almost like your egg ring idea. So we've probably
See?
done, gosh,
You don't even need my
40 plus.
brainstorming. You got it right there.
There
That's
it
a
is.
Hallmark
Yeah,
movie.
based on a true story. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
True
we've probably
story.
done like 50 of them, Rachel, maybe more at this point. I actually, if I have enough money, I want to open my own escape room.
Nice.
I tinker and write little floor plans for it and everything. So it's an
Hallmark
easy one,
themed. I mean, it is kind of surprising that we haven't gotten a Christmas themed escape room movie.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to crack that one because
Yeah.
have you done? Are you an escape room person or?
I've never done one. How
Oh my
horrible. I
gosh,
can't believe it. I've never,
you
and because I love games. I'm like a game nut.
there you
And
go.
but I know I just never
Well, that's
have.
your assignment. Yeah, that's your
Okay.
assignment. You'll have to do one and let me know what you think. I just think they're a ball and they you have to think outside the box, which
I think the hard part for me is that almost all my friends don't live in Utah. I'm kind of a
Oh, okay.
loner in that way. I have like two friends
Yep. Gather
and
the gang. Yep.
see if they wanted to escape from.
It's fun. You know what? There are people I've met that just don't like it. I think they get nervous and don't feel like they're contributing. So even if you don't like it, I won't hold it
I have
against
to
you.
see
But
my dad might like it seems like something he would like, although he'd get really mad if he
okay.
does.
You know what? It also like to me is like a very good like I don't know if I want to say first date, but like
Yeah,
second through fifth date
I think
activity,
so.
right? Because it's like communication and
Yeah,
like all these things that could be an indicator of whether or not your relationship will pan out. So just
that
a
makes
suggestion.
sense. I always say before you get married, you should build a piece of IKEA furniture and take a road trip together.
Yes, exactly. Those
You
are
know.
very, yeah. I was like trying to think of it, and I would add, I guess, doing an escape room too. But
Yeah.
yeah, IKEA, yeah, very good point.
Yeah. All right. Which do you like better, dogs or cats?
I'm allergic to cats, so
Yeah.
dogs, easy one. I also walk dogs. I'll write in the morning, I walk some dogs, and I write
Oh,
in the afternoon. Yep.
okay. Which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
Oh man, I mountains. Every year I take a mountain retreat and right up in
Hmm.
Big Bear, and it's just the cold air and like the
Uh-huh.
hiking, can't beat it.
Cool.
Um,
What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
uh, yeah, oh, it's got to be Christmas. I get to go home. Oh, every other year now I get to go home, and my grandparents are still around, seeing
Hmm.
them, and who doesn't love opening presents? And now that Hallmark's a big part of my life, it's like, all
Yeah.
right, what's the new big Hallmark thing? Like the
Hmm.
Three Wise Men and a Baby sequel. I was
Yeah.
like getting giddy over
Huge.
that. I thought that movie was hilarious, the first
Yes.
one. So yeah, definitely a Christmas guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to beat Christmas because it's like a whole season, and
Yeah,
the rest of them are just
exactly.
like maybe a week or a
It's
day.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is there a second place for your guests, your podcast guests? Because Christmas has to
Halloween.
be
I think
Halloween.
almost everybody says either Christmas or Halloween.
Okay. And no
Yeah.
like Flag Day or Memorial Day.
Yeah, I mean, because that I do really enjoy a good dress up, planning the costumes, all that stuff. Super
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And we
You
moved
know.
to a neighborhood recently and it's great because we're in an apartment, which no one really does Halloween. So now that we have like, a neighborhood house, like
Hmm.
we're able to have the kids come and we set up
Yeah.
a table and we dress up. Like I was Daniel's son from Karate Kid this past year. So it's a lot more fun when you have like the little kids all excited. It brings you back to like the joy you experienced as a kid, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, everything with holidays is more fun with kids.
It is. It
It just
is.
is.
Yes. Yeah. We're
Or what
lucky
it
that we
is.
have a young niece and nephew, and it's just like they're the star of the
Hmm.
show.
Yeah. Last question. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Wow. I mean, is it Gift of Peace, Easter Bloom, or or Blessing Bracelet? Oh no, I'm teasing you. Um, Dang, I should have. I'm trying to think. Favorite romance. Oh, duh. We watch it every Christmas. I mentioned it earlier, the holiday. My wife and I, we put our electric fireplace on, and we get a nice meal,
Yeah.
and we every Christmas season we watch that movie. It's funny, it's sweet, it's winning,
Yeah.
it's what you want out of a film. The movie's like almost 15 years old. It's crazy to think that. Maybe
Yeah, it is
more.
crazy.
Time just flies by.
I'm more team Kate Winslet, though.
Over Cameron Diaz.
Yeah. Her
Okay.
story's more
Yeah,
interesting
it
to me.
is. It is. I love the subplot with the screenwriter.
Oh, yeah.
Every time, I don't know if I spoil it. I mean, it's been 15 years. If you haven't seen it,
Everybody who's listening to this podcast has seen that movie.
yeah, okay,
Let's
good.
be real.
Yeah. Like when he's walking down the aisle, and Hans Zimmer's score just like has this beautiful build. Like every time I get misty eyed. I just can't help it.
He says,
Uh,
you are the supporting player in your life. Oh,
like
yeah.
stop. So
Well,
good.
very good. You did it. You answered all the questions.
Woo, thank you. Those were fun. I like the
Well,
rapid fire.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thanks for writing all these really great movies. And I'm glad you're the Dayspring dude. We're in good
Dayspring
hands.
dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll see my name, over the next couple seasons. I'd love to come back after a couple more too.
Yeah. Keep us posted for sure.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. Great meeting you. Thanks for having me.
And do you have social media or anything like that you want to share? Or
Yeah. My Twitter is don't be so grim, but GRIMM.
oh, that's cute.
So yeah, my last name, little
Uh-huh.
punny thing with my last name. And yeah, my Instagram, I actually always forget. I think it's Mr. Grim Reaper, because when I was a teacher, I was Mr. Grim, but my students would call me Reaper.
Oh, that's cute.
Even though it's like exactly the opposite of my personality. Like there's nothing like, Grim Reaper about me, but it's Mr. Grim Reaper, two M's and then 77. It almost sounds like an AIM screen name. For those of you that remember AIM.
Yeah.
So yeah, either of those probably is the best.
Well, very good. We'll have that all in the description. And thanks again. It was so great to meet you.
You too. Thanks for the support. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Michael for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed talking with him. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. Let me know what you think of all the things we talked about in the comments or on Twitter. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And we have our playlist of all of our writer interviews. And so make sure to definitely check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store, and we could sure use your support there. And thanks again to Michael. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.